Hi guys, I'm up here. Shh, it's my time now. Welcome to the Krita hour. Does anybody not have Krita installed? Just like raise your hand. Okay, well it's one person. What? Is the mic not on? I don't know. That's fine. I'm loud. Hello. I think it's supposed to be on. Or that mic.
They're both.
There's two mics here.
All right. Is this one on?
No, that should be on.
Yeah, that's on. All right. Have fun, kid. Shebang.
All right. Well, for anybody who doesn't, or the one person, it's like Krita.org. I think it's really easy. It takes a few minutes, but I'm going to go on anyways because it's just one person. All right, do you guys all have Krita open? Like you've clicked on the icon, you see, probably not this. I made my icons very large. You're gonna see like this all the way on the side here with the default setup. You guys all see that? You good? All right, so asset making. You have a game, you've programmed it. You want it to look like more than just blocks, really sad blocks. Perfect. What?
Am I getting added right now?
Yeah. No. Yes, I am now. I use Krita for a lot of the assets. I'm the person who keeps posting all the really weird pixel art in the art discords. For those of you who don't know me, it's just me screaming into the void. But I use Krita. It's free. It's like a pretty good drawing software. There's a lot you can do with it. And I won't go over all the fancy stuff because you won't need to know that unless you like are actively into drawing, and then you can go further into that route. You can make pixel art with a mouse. Lots of people do it. I'm sure at least some of you have seen the weird cursed Garfield pixels floating around. That's the guy who does that uses a mouse, no tablet. So it's possible. It just takes time and dedication and practice. So you have this screen. I'm going to give you a rundown of Krita and the tools you'll need to make some of your first assets, and definitely not that half-baked crying emoji that I made earlier. So, on the left here, here's your buttons. If you've ever used any art software that's more than just like MS Paint, you'll probably recognize most of these. You have your magic wand, which selects everything of the same color. Your select tools, freehand select. This moves the canvas around. Move picture on canvas, transform, crop, paintbrushes, align tool, square shape tools. Most of them are pretty much self-explanatory. Everything up here will change based on what brush we're doing. Well, I'll get into that later. If you have a certain preference for how you want your Krita to be set up, you can change the theme from light to dark by just going under settings. You don't have to do that. I'm sure none of you will, but you can do that if it makes you happy. And as for how I got the buttons much bigger, I just right-click them and then you can change the size of the icons if you find the icons to be a little bit too small for you to see well. All right. So, those things over there are what we call dockers in Krita. So as you can see, you have layers. I have nothing right now. Brushes, tool options. Again, I don't have a canvas yet, so there's nothing really there. But your color selector, a specific like a color mixing tool, and I think one more color slider. Those are just the general things you start off with. And up here is where you're going to change your workspace. Here, let me show you that. If you press Control New, just like you're making a new document. You see all these options. You can ignore those for the most part if you want to find out more about RGB color settings and all that stuff. You can do that on your own time. But just like make a canvas. I'm using 100 by 100. It's a decent enough size. Just use a canvas. You can see I can now use the tools. So most of it's pretty standard. You have your brushes, drop-down menu over here, different kinds of brushes. Man. Okay, this one has like less brushes I'm used to. It's very strange, but So you have your different brushes. Again, more color sliders up here if you need to get more specific. Up here to the right, this little, you guys see this icon? I really wish I could make this part bigger. But you guys see this icon in the top right? Those are just different layouts for Dockers you can do that are like already set up. So there's an animation part, big vector, default is what I'm going to be using. Why is your Krita so bare bones?
I've only been using Krita as long as I've known it existed.
That doesn't give me a time frame.
A year, maybe.
Okay, that's fine. We can work with this. You may have different brushes. That's fine. Everything else will be the same. It's just you got no brushes. Okay. So, canvas, work area, basic key tools. If you have a wheel mouse, you know, you use scroll wheel, zoom in and out. If you have a trackpad, I don't know, you can go down here, this little slider. If you have a mouse, you can use the middle mouse button to drag the canvas around. If you don't, you can head down over into the little hand at the bottom. This thing got away from me again. This little hand at the bottom also does the same thing. If you want to move around your Dockers, like you see how I took that apart, you just click on the title right here. So under the tab, it has the name of the Docker. If you just click and drag that, you can just like take it out, put it somewhere else, maybe place it in a different area, put it like in between, up top here, to the left, to the bottom. Whatever's most comfortable with you. All right, so to get started, what am I thinking? Yes, just as the most important things. I mean, you guys can start like playing around with the brushes if you want to. Again, you have your brush presets over here. Drag down, choose something. The brush tool is the brush icon. If you don't know what something is, you can hover over the icon. It'll like give you a description of what it is. Freehand brush tool, line tool, squares, circles, all that neat stuff. I'm assuming most of you guys have at least looked at an art program before. Maybe not used it, but you have seen one in your lifetime. So as with most art programs, you have your brushes, you have your layers. Does anybody not know what layer blending modes are? Just raise your hand. I just want to get like a feel. That's fine. So I'll get into those in just a second. Over to the right here is your basic layers. Obviously we have like 2 layers right now. We have a background layer. Mine starts off with just a white background. It may start off with a transparent background. You know, you get the little grid squares, all that and whatnot. If you're making transparent PNGs, you know, you have your character you want to put in your game. You don't want to have like the white background attached. You just delete the layer, erase it, whatever you want. Now that we have our brushes, I can show you the stuff up here is pretty much tool options. There is a tool options tab that you can see down there. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff you'll do is just like up here. Something that may be confusing is that there is not an erase tool. I've seen some people get confused about that. It doesn't exist. You have a brush. You brush with it. And then you go right on over here. Set eraser mode. It just turns your brush into an eraser. And the reason they do that is because there are a lot of pattern and texture brushes. You can get like custom brush sets for this if you really wanted to, but it'll turn like those patterns and textures also into an eraser. So just in case you want to like do some cool eraser, additive, subtractive like stuff, you can do that with the eraser option. So it works with like all the brushes pretty much. Everything else is, you know, opacity. I'm self-explanatory. How transparent the brush is, size, also self-explanatory. You probably won't really need to worry too much about preserve alpha, again, unless you're like moving further into digital art and you really need to worry about that. You can find out all about those advanced stuff on like in your own time. For the most part, you're just going to use eraser, size, maybe opacity, and if you need to do something symmetrical, there are 2 options up here. So horizontal mirror tool, you know, very, very fancy. Vertical, you can have both at the same time. You can move them around if you want to change it. Go down to the little drop-down menu, move back to the canvas center. Just like that. As with most art programs, you have a foreground color and a background color. So for maybe paint, I think, it's like left click is the foreground color, right click is the background color. Same thing here, except not actually right click. Right click pulls up this thing, and just don't worry about that. It messes it up sometimes. If you go over here, you can select your foreground color, click on the other square, select your background color. You can switch it. To the left over here, there are fill patterns. They're kind of hard to see. Explore them on your own time, but there are like different dithering patterns you can use. Does anybody not know what dithering is? There. Let me explain that. Just for, you've seen it before. If you ever looked at a game ever in your life, if you ever looked at like one of those old Pokemon sprites or games that have like 3 colors max, and you start seeing that checkerboard pattern, that's dithering. That's just it. It's just a way to get more colors out of fewer colors. So if you're only using like 4 colors in your game total, you can use that, or like different patterns to make it look more like a gradient of sorts. All right, and up here is your gradient tool. There you go, gradients. There is just a straight up gradient tool as well that just changes the way the gradient works. So here, gradient. So basic tools. Everything else, you know, select, move, wow, crop, basic video basic image editing stuff. So we have our basic tools. Does anybody like need help up to this point? It's all just overview stuff. We good? All right. So there are a few other things that you may want to look at. So I mentioned before, Krita has things called dockers. That is what the little tabs are. The layers, the brush, the brush presets, the tool options. There are tool options. I'll get into those in just a second. If you want more, you go right into settings and dockers. You'll see a lot of stuff here. I'll show you a few of them. Most of them are unnecessary. Again, I don't know how many of you guys are going to deal with their color curves. Probably about 2 of you. So there's like grids and guides where you can put like a pixel art grid, or you guys know what isometric perspective is. You've seen like isometric art before. There's like an isometric guide to help along with that if that's like how you want your game to be. Again, compositions, onion skins for like animations. They have some like preset palettes. If you click on it, it just kind of places it down on the right there on the bottom. Again, you can move it out, move it around, do whatever you want. They're kind of hard to expand, but you can expand them. I'm not going to try that. Again, dockers, basic dockers. So, all right, we have our blank canvas. What do we do with it? I want you guys to, just to start, maybe go under the pixel art tab. You should all have this under your brushes. This will be, if you're doing pixel art, this will be what you use most. You know, you have like a 1 pixel thing. Unfortunately, Krita does not have smoothing. There are other programs like Sprite made for pixel art that does. Krita does not. So no matter what, you're gonna have to do some cleanup if you want your pixel lines to be like 1 pixel thick. This is a larger pixel thing. It works better if you have a tablet with pen pressure. So for now, we're just gonna deal with this thing right here. So, just like draw, just draw something. Draw a circle. Do your best. Make sure it's closed. Circle drawn. What can we do with this circle? We can do several things with this circle. I'll show you step by step. What?
Is that a lemon?
No.
It's you, Noah.
It's actually
It's actually a tree.
an orange. It's just an orange. Orange. All right. So you have a circle. You have something drawn. You have something that you can do something with. Just to go through most of these tools, obviously the line tools are pretty self-explanatory. You know, have fun, make your shapes, do whatever. More shapes. This is a freehand object tool. If you want to make weird angular shapes, if you want your lines to be smoother, so you guys see how there's all like these jagged edges on this one? If you don't want that, you can use the line tools. It won't have any jagged edges. So if you're looking to really quickly make clean looking sprites without having to clean up a bunch of stuff afterwards, just use the line and pen tools. This is a Bezier curve tool. You may be familiar with if you've ever seen somebody use like Photoshop and pull out the line tool. It's pretty easy. You just click on something, stretch it out. You have your second point, hold it down. It starts making these curved lines. Release, find your next point, hold it down, stretch out. And when you're done, you just tap on your ending spot, press enter. You get a nice curved line. Something that I find makes for a really, really quick game art is just sketching it on paper. It doesn't have to be great, it doesn't have to be, you know, super detailed. Just sketching an outline on paper, take a picture of it, just stick it in here, and then you just use the curve tool so you can get like all those nice curves and you get like nice straight pixelated lines, and it makes making really quick sprites or assets for your game like super fast. Especially if you can't do anything with your mouse and you're really bad at it. That's fair, that's understandable. Some people are just better at drawing on paper and then transferring over it. So if you have trouble with a mouse and you're like, well, I still want to like maybe draw a person into my game, you know, you can draw it on paper first, snap a pic, upload it, outline it, you know, it's pretty nice and easy. You can just resize the picture. This freehand path tool, don't exactly what it sounds like. This will also make the nice curvy, the nicer curvier lines. It kind of smooths it out, as you can see. Not always the best, but it does exist, just in case you need that. I don't use a dynamic brush tool, so find out more about that on your own time. This is the multi-brush tool. Is anybody in here? Anybody here at home stuck? There you go. You know those weird spiraling, curving circle patterns that you see all the time? This is how you can make them. So, you have your multi-brush tool. If you want to wander over, you should have a tool options tab. If you haven't messed up with your layout at all, it will be on the same kind of block that you have your layers and brush presets at. Click on over there. You're going to see all these tool options. I'm going to click on show axes so you can see what I'm seeing. Alright, you can play around with this more, but basically you have your 4 axes of symmetry. You can change the amount of brushes you want down here, right under this this drop down menu. It's like the last slider. And then let's start from here. You'll see you get those nice spiral patterns. So, I know somebody's here made a few wizard games, but if you have like games that like relate to like magic or sci-fi, you want like the you know, like the cool warp pads, the patterns, all that stuff. This is a really, really easy way to make it without having to sit there and change everything individually, which is inefficient and rough. This also basically works with whatever brush you have. So if you go back down into like brush presets and I want to do it like the dithering tool, it'll do that for you. Other basic tool options, again, explore this on your own time, but like this drop down menu, gives you other stuff you can do. So if you like go into Snowflake, I'm gonna go back in here. You'll see you can start making some snowflake patterns. And from here, you know, you can change how the axes are rotated. You can change the center of the axes if you really need to, you know, all that fun stuff. So that is the basic multi-brush tool. Really simple to use. Again, if you want like fancy magic circles or something, you're like, well, I don't want to spend 20 years making them, just use that. It's great for 48-hour game jams when you don't have 20 years to start making stuff. All right, transform. This little thing, it kind of looks like a picture frame with a dot in it. This thing right here, really easy. It'll transform either whatever you've selected with your select tools or just whatever is on the layer if you haven't selected a specific portion. From here, it's just, you know, clicking and dragging stuff, basic resizing stuff. You resize it, press enter, resized. There's more options under tool options. You can play with this. You can like set up guidelines basically. So you can see, you can kind of stretch it out in a weirder way. And again, there's a lot of weird stuff you can do with it. So just play around. If you like need to make, let's say something that looks more 3D, you can do that with this. You select it, you go to that little second option over there, and there you go. You can start making 3D planes. That dot right there is basically the perspective. It's the horizon point. You press enter. So if you have like a pattern on a wall or something, you're like, all right, well, I need a really quick 3D room out of this. Just go, you can head over to transform, grab the corners, just angle it. Is anybody lost? We all good? Okay. All right, other basic tools. I don't need to go into this too much, you know, move, crop. If you've made a mistake, same thing as most other art programs, press Control-Z. You can go into edit, you know, redo, cut, copy, paste, move, all that stuff. Gradient tool, I already showed you that. It's a gradient. Eyedropper, get some colors. Don't worry about the Smart Patch tool. I'm pretty sure you only use that if you're editing photos. That's a whole different ball game. All right, fill tool. I know you guys know what a fill tool is, but there's also something else you can do with it. So, if you guys remember, I showed you in the top left corner that second box up there. It has patterns in it. If you go into your tool options, there's a little checkbox right down here. Use pattern. You can fill your dithering pattern on it. So let's say you have a just a regular sprite. All right, here's my Mr. Man sprite. Thanks. It's truly beautiful. And you're like, all right, well, I need part of him to be filled in with a dithering pattern. So I'm just gonna, you know, take my freehand select an area right over here, go back into fill, use my pattern. Oh, sorry. There we go. Dither. Perfect. Oh, I can show you guys something cool with like MS Paint in just a second. No, it's actually very useful, I promise. Everything else, grids and guides. Yeah, if you don't have a pen tablet or and you're using a mouse, or if you do have a pen tablet and you just need assistance, this is basically a ruler. It has like different options. So here I'm under tool options, I'm under concentric ellipse. Bam, circle guide. You can move it around. You can press the little X to get rid of it. Maybe you need like a fisheye point. Kind of similar, they are a little different. And change this around, fisheye. Everything else is just, you know, like vanishing point is probably what you'll see the most. There we go. Yeah, that works. Down here, again, it's just basic select tools. I don't think I have to go over this with you guys. You know, select. One thing with Krita that I'm not a fan of is that if you press escape, it does not actually exit the selection. So I just kind of click over the gray space to get out of the selection. I've had this happen to me many times where I have something selected and it's 1 pixel tall, so I don't see it. So I'm like brushing on a layer and nothing's happening. It's like, oh no, I have 1 pixel selected in the corner, so I can no longer brush onto anything. Again, standard problems. All right. So does anybody have any questions about like the basic tools? No? Okay. All right. Now, layers, the second most important thing. So, for most picture editing softwares that are more advanced than MS Paint, you have layers. So every layer has a different part of the picture. You see most artists, they do have like an outline layer. Under it, you have a color layer. Maybe you have a highlights and a shadows layer. You probably don't need that many layers, but it is helpful if you want to say like build a room or some sort of apartment in Krita. You can like have your wallpaper and your floor on like one layer, then you put your furniture on a different layer, then you have a different layer for your player character. It lets you assemble things really, really quickly. So down here, down at the bottom, you should see a few little buttons. Again, I wish I could like make the buttons bigger, but you should see it's a box with a plus sign, 2 boxes stacked on top of each other, 2 arrows, and something that kind of looks like an abacus or something. Lines with little dots on them. That's the best way to describe it.
Okay.
Don't make fun of me. Wow. I'm hurt. I have basically 2 layers right here. If you press the plus sign, nice and easy, makes you a 3rd layer. You can draw something different on it, or let me make that a better color. There you go. You can move everything on this layer, not the below layer. If you click on the little drop-down menu next to the plus sign with the box with the plus sign, you're going to see all these layer options. For the most part, you probably won't really worry about that, like vector layers. If you want to do vector art, get an actual vector art program and not Krita. So like filter layers, fill layers, masks, group layer. Probably the only thing you'll ever worry about is group layers and filter layers, and I'll get into those later. Down here, it's just duplicate the layer. So now I have duplicates of this layer. The little arrows are, you can either click or drag the layer to move the position, but sometimes I find it hard to get, to move them because you have to like get it right in between like the little lines. So you can just like click on your layer, move it up and down. Really easy way to restructure the layers if you're like having trouble dragging or something. Perfect. And this is layer properties. Normally if you want to like rename a layer, I just click on it, wait a second, then click it again. You know, you get the little text box. You can click on the little settings looking icon. You get your settings up here. Name your layer. Hello, gamers. You can change the opacity of the layer. All that fun stuff. You can also change the opacity of the layer up here. And if you need to like trash a layer, you have a layer you don't need anymore. There's a trash can icon in the right side. Self-explanatory. Layer trashed. Done. Right above opacity. Again, for anybody who doesn't know what a blending mode is, when you have a picture below and a layer on top, you can change the blending mode of that layer. And all that really means is it just changes how the colors on that layer interact with the colors below it. So like, oh no, everything's weird on this thing. Okay. So if you like change multiply, it should change kind of how the colors interact with the colors below it. It's kind of hard to see, but it is there. But so see, it's on multiply, right? You can see the black is still shining through. but the red on the outside and the red over top the orange is a little different. So that's what I mean by like different layer blending modes. So what this is usually great for is, let's say you have like a player character and you want it to be like several colors because, like, you know, nobody has time to make just several different player animations, right? So you make your player in like white and gray, and then all you do is you just put a layer over top of it, set it to multiply, add a color, it'll just multiply with the grays below, and then suddenly, you know, you have like a red character, you can make a blue character, an orange character, and that base gray scaled character just doesn't change underneath. So if I made him, oh, oops, sorry, gray, and let's say perfect. Oh, I messed up somewhere. That's fine, whatever. Okay. But regardless, if you make your like character grayscale and you just like put the blending layer over top for like something like multiply, you can just get different colors for your player characters. Something like that. Again, just a really, you can do that with programming, I'm sure. I don't know how, but you can also do it just like that. If you have like a long, giant player character sheet. Do you guys know what like a sprite sheet is? Yes? Yeah, so if you have like a really big sprite sheet, you just like have multiples of the same character, and you just have a different like color layer for each different player character, and then now your game actually has like 4 player options you can do without having to go through the trouble of drawing or recoloring each one individually by hand, which doesn't work if you only have 48 hours to make characters. You can, again, explore with some of these layers, like subtract will give you like different colors. There's like a lighten you can do, all kinds of fancy stuff. Okay.
You need whatever comes out of this to be in your next game, Pete.
No. I will not do that. I'm sorry. Alright. Okay. So, second important thing. So, let's say, alright, I have a gray character underneath. He's beautiful. He's the best thing I've ever made. He's my child. I'll never make anything better. Whoops. Okay, just ignore that. I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. Alright. Why is your Krita so weird? Alright. There we go. Sorry, my threshold was too high. Alright. So, you have your player character, and you're like, alright, I need him to be a different color, and I have my layer set up to multiply. I'm ready. Alright, that's great, but you've also changed the rest of your canvas to blue. So, you want to fix this problem. You want to make it easy on yourself. Really simple. Alright, so you see your layer. Do you see all the little, like, darker gray, like, or lighter gray icons to the right of it? One looks like a lock. One looks like a little alpha sign. Do you guys see that? Give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Alex. Alright, so those are also 2 very important options. The little thing that looks like an open lock, not that interesting. All it does is it locks the layer so you can't edit it. So if anybody's ever done digital art before and they're like, well, I keep drawing my line art on the sketch layer, you just lock the sketch layer, then you can no longer draw on it. Perfect, problem solved. So, the one next to it is important, alpha. Does anybody not know what alpha is in a drawing program? Okay, alpha. You know what transparency is, right? Okay, so basically the alpha of a color is how transparent it is. It's the opacity of it, basically. So, if you click on that option, or if I click on that option, what you'll see is, let me get rid of that layer. You'll see that the blue no longer bleeds outside. That's because it is preserving the alpha of the layers underneath it. The colors will only the colors on that layer, on the layer we've turned on the alpha, it'll only be, it'll have the same opacity as whatever's underneath it. So if I go back onto this layer and maybe change up my opacity to be a little bit lower, you'll see it's still there. And you'll see it's still color blue, but now it has the same opacity as a layer underneath it. So again, if you have lots of player characters, you want to color them 4 different colors because you have 4 people in your one game. You get your sprite sheet open, you're ready. You just make strips of color, you know, red, blue, green, yellow. Turn on your alpha, bam, it's right there. Colored, nothing on the outside. Unless you have like a layer where you have like a transparent color in your RPG maker, so it's like green or something, right? You know what I'm talking about? When you import a character sheet, like a walking sheet, and you have to click the transparent color. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. So, 2 very important options that may help you with making your art assets a little bit easier as you move forward. I'm going to turn that off. Alright, so, you guys saw what happened when I turned on the background layer. Even though I have alpha on top, it preserves the alpha of everything beneath it. So if you have a colored layer, it'll keep all the alpha on the background and it'll mess up your background, right? We can fix that. That's really easy to fix. So, those layer options I showed you earlier. You can make, click down, you can make a group layer, right? I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to name it my color group. And I'm just going to drag that into that. Let me change the position. See, there you go. So the purpose of a group layer, you can drag other layers into it. It does exactly what it describes. It groups up together your layers. Why that's important? It's important not only if you're trying to organize your layers. So again, let's say you have like, you want to make a city background. You have like a bunch of buildings and stuff. You're just like putting them on each other. You may want to have different layers. So maybe like you can apply one background layer of cities, like have a darker filter over it. You know, as city buildings go back, they get darker, right? So something like that. And for something like this, it's this makes it really easy because when the layers are in a group, if you have a layer on top that's like set to multiply, or like a filter layer that's applying the filters, if it's in a group, it'll only apply those effects to all the layers underneath of it in the group, but it won't do it to anything else. So again, it makes it a lot easier if you need to like color your grayscale pictures and you don't want to bleed into the background. You just stick them into a group, bam, you're done. Problem solved. Easy way to fix things. Group layers. The second important layer, you guys saw me doing that stupid stuff over there. Those are basically filters. You guys know what a filter is? Yes? You know, it's just an effect. It does something to your picture. There's 2 ways you can add filters. Obviously, there's a filter option up top. It'll just add it straight to, play with the filters, figure out what you like. It'll just blur some stuff out. Sorry, added that to the wrong filter. There we go. So you can apply it like right to the picture. So now you see we have a very blurred out little character. But let's say you want to apply your blur filter to multiple things. You're like, I don't want to have to sit here and apply my filter option to each layer individually. That's what a filter layer is for. I'm going to add a nice little filter layer. You're going to have all these options. Same thing as under the filter options. So I wanted my character to be a little bit blurred. I'm going to go under the blur menu. I like the Gaussian blur. I'm going to change how much it's blurred. Alright, filter layer. Put them up top. So now it blurs everything underneath of it. And again, since it's in a group, it won't blur anything in the background. So if I wanted to draw, you know, a smiley face, that's not blurred, but he is. Group layers. Keep everything together. Apply filters only. Select layers. It's great. Please use them. Alright. So, those are basically the most important things you need to know with Krita. now for some of the more helpful and fun things. So, I said earlier, oh, wait, I also forgot to go over things. Really quickly, if you want to, like, mirror your image or, like, resize your canvas or anything, you can do that, like, under image. If you want to, like, view guides and stuff, those are all, like, setting things. You can go do with that later. But, where's that going? Okay, that's right, alright. So, I said earlier there are things called dockers. Right under your settings, right here. Something that you may find very useful to you if you're making either a tiled game or, you know, a game on like a perspective. You know, maybe you're like, oh, well, I want to try something different today. I want my city on like an angle. You know, when you're looking up in the city, the building's kind of angled towards you. Under here, there is a grids and guides docker right here. So, a lot of these things will be helpful to you, again, if you need perspective help. So let's say you're drawing with a mouse, right? And probably the hardest part with drawing with a mouse is like knowing exactly where you want all your pixels to be spaced out. So like, you want to draw a circle and you want to make sure the sides are exactly 10 pixels wide, right? You can turn on a grid. It's right here, nice and easy. And you can go on your spacing. Now you have a 1 pixel wide grid. That'll make it nice and just like you're making a texture on like Animal Crossing or something. A nice and easy pixel grid that can help you out. The subdivision is basically if you want to have like a bigger grid. Where did subdivision go? Yeah. If you're looking at it on your screen and you have this up, you may see where it's dashed. Yeah, let me get like a brighter color. There you go. I don't know how like well you can see it, but one of the lines is kind of red and one of them is kind of black. That's a subdivision. You can make your lines different colors. You can change the styles of it down here. If you need something different, like you don't actually want the squares. Do you guys see that little icon right next to the X spacing and the Y spacing? It looks like a little chain link. If you click that, you can make your things different lengths. So now you have rectangles instead of just straight pixels or straight squares. All right. There we go. All right. Again, I don't think, for whatever reason, this version of Krita has the options I'm used to. Real sad. Alright. And, okay. Alright. So, grids and guides, all that fun stuff. Oh, it's 3:40. Okay, I still have plenty of time. Alright. So, we've gotten this far. You have all your basics. You're like, alright, well, I'm ready to start making pixel art, right? There are relatively easy ways to do that. Let me delete that. Alright. So, are you guys ready to draw something? We're gonna draw a tree. It's tree time. I'm sure one of you has seen the stupid tree I posted in the art Discord. We're making a tree with your mouse. Are you guys ready? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay. It's tree time. So I'm just gonna like delete these delete these.
That man.
I'm sorry, I had to kill him. He had to go. So get some layers. Get some like nice transparent layers. And I want you to just, you know, go into your color selector. I'm gonna make mine a little bit bigger. Just choose black. I have 3 layers set up. I think that'll probably be like easier since we're gonna have to do a lot of stuff for this. So we're gonna draw some leaves. I'm working on the assumption that you all have seen a tree before. Use your brush tool. Here's your pixel brush. Start drawing a tree shape. Just some sort of tree. Tree. Get your fill tool, fill it in. Alright, you should have like a black amorphous blob, right?
It's not the color that his tree is.
You're right. It isn't.
It isn't?
No.
My trees look like that.
Do you guys have your trees? Give me like a thumbs up when you're ready. If I see enough, I'll just like start moving on. It's okay. Some people are still drawing. It's tree time. Alright. Again, just give me like a thumbs up when you're ready to go. Or just like look up at the screen so I can see you. I'll do this teacher style. Alright. So, you have your leaves, your amorphous tree leaf blob. Right now it's just a black blob. We want to change it. We want to give it some color. I'm going to show you guys something that's really easy to do that'll help you along. It's called index painting. I know, yes. I know, I'm sure some of you, if you've been here for more than 1 year, you already know what I'm about to show you guys. So, what is index paint? Does anybody know what it means? Oh, I forget what the term is. So whenever you see people do like Pixlr or like, you know, think back to like a old Pokemon game or like a NES game. You know how they have a limited color palette? We're basically just indexing the colors. So you're gonna have a lot of colors on the screen. As you know, Krita can handle hundreds of colors at once. Your game may not be able to. So index painting is a way it just maps colors onto color values. So basically, if you have like an amorphous blob, you have a lot of anti-aliasing, you know, a lot of stuff on it you don't want. You index it. You can make it into like 3 colors instead of 300 colors. It's pretty simple to do. So you have this layer right here. I want you to go to a blank layer above it. Go down to your brush presets and grab out your checkerboard dithering tool. Just fill the screen. Fill the screen like that. Press your alpha. Maybe change the opacity just a little bit. And I'm going to say, you go under the drop-down menu. If it's not under your favorites, sometimes it just starts out like that. It will be under arithmetic. Just like set it to multiply. So you have a checkerboard layer, set to multiply under a low opacity. This is going to help us dither our sprites so we don't have to do it by hand. I mean, naturally, whatever you make, you're going to have to like probably edit a little bit so it looks a little bit more defined, but it's a great way to get started. Yes?
Did you do that stuff with the new layers again?
Yes. No, that's fine. So, all I did was I made a second layer above the tree leaf blob, amorphous blob. I filled it with the checkerboard dithering tool. Just fill it up. And you just click on the little alpha icon. The thing I showed you earlier. So it's the like grayed out alpha sign to the right of your layer. Click on that so that the dithering stays within the confines of your amorphous blob. And then I just set it to multiply, which should be under arithmetic for blending modes. Do you guys all have that? Give me a thumbs up. No? Yay? Yay, nay? Am I going too fast? Does anybody need help? Nick can help. He's used Krita. What happened?
The color wheel disappeared.
Oh, he turned it off, or he X'd out of it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, if you just go into Dockers, it's the advanced color picker. It should be like one of the Dockers near the top. You just click on that, it'll put it back, and then you can just move it to wherever you want it. Oh yeah, I know I didn't show you guys, but like, if you look to the left of where your dockers are, you can't see on the screen. There's like two there's like 4 or 5 small dots on the side. Yeah, you can just make it bigger, change your sizing. If you want like the color wheel to be a little bigger, so you want to see the colors better. What? Okay. I mean, we're almost done.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm just letting you know.
It's tree time. Right. Is anybody ready to move on, or are we just helping out those guys over there? Do you have a question? What?
What is selecting under arithmetic?
Oh, multiply. Yeah, just multiply. Each layer can only have 1 blending mode. So you can set it to whatever you want. I'm setting it to a low layer, and you'll see like in a second why I do that. But just set it to, so like if this were like blue, it's just like low enough that you can't really see it too well. You doing okay? There, you should lay down. Hey, right up there. Right up there. What? I'm ready.
There's still like other people doing that.
Okay. I'm gonna give it like 30 seconds, and I'm just gonna like move on, because we're running out of time. Yeah. Oh, so the dithering is just a brush.
What do you, which layers you did?
The layer above the tree. So I'm gonna, why is everything so small?
What did you just say to me?
Yeah, I don't know if you can read that, but that's my dithering layer. And the one below it is my tree. Just gonna... Okay. For everyone else, I'm just gonna go ahead and move on so we can like get to everything else today. So, for those who are ready, you have your tree and you have your dithering. We're gonna do one more thing. So, make sure you're on the dithering layer. Excuse me, Albert. Stop interrupting me. So, make sure you're on the dithering layer so that when you add a new layer, it just happens to be on top of it. Makes it easy. Go under your drop-down menu next to your box with the plus sign. Click on Filter Layer. And go under Artistic and Index Colors. Do you guys see this? Does anybody not see this? Yeah, we good? All right. So, what are these options? When we're making a tree, we'll probably want it to be green. You can make it red, blue, purple, I don't care. But this is where you select all the colors that you're going to want on your tree. Any color you can think of that you want on your tree to be displayed, you choose it here. So, obviously for my darkest shadows, I probably want, you know, a nice dark green. This will look different because I have the color palettes up, don't worry about it. Under my base, maybe a lighter green. Here's my lights. And here are my brights, or basically my highlights. Alright, I have 4 reasonable tree colors here. If you want less colors, let's say you don't really need the bright colors, you know, you can just click this little check mark right here. Gets rid of it, deactivates it, you won't see it. If you want more colors in your layer, there's more check marks over here, or if you want like more greens on your tree. Under here, does anybody know what a color ramp is? Does anybody not know what a color ramp is? Alright, color ramp. So, think of like a gradient. When you're going from red to green, you know all those mixed colors in between? That's a color ramp. It's all the colors in between an endpoint and a starting point. So, you know, in Pixar, if you're going from blue to red, you're going to have like purple in between. Color ramp. So, these settings right here, these 4 little settings, Krita will make color ramps for you if you don't tell it to not do that. For now, we will just tell it to do that because it makes it easier, but you see, under the default, it should have like 2 in-between ramps, 4 lights, 4 ramps between light and bright, 4 between base and light, and 4 between like shadow and base. You can change those. As you see now, we have our color count is 16 colors, which may work for some people, but for others, it's gonna look kind of more like a slime blob than a tree. So I'm gonna go right under here and just scroll these down into 1, change my in-between ramps to 1. Now I'm down to 7 colors. That should probably be good for what we're doing. There's indexing factors and alpha steps and more stuff down there. Again, look at that in your own time. I don't really have the time to go through that today, but do you guys have like your 4 colors and how many in-between colors you want? Thumbs up? Yep. All right. Click OK. So, I don't think you can see it on here, but probably on your screen you should see that your black blob has turned into the dark color that you chose as the darkest color. That's basically what it's doing. So, if when you guys are ready, you have your color set up, you have your filter layer, I want you to place a layer in between your dithering layer and your tree layer. Right here. Turn on the preserve alpha setting. This is, I'll just name this like my shading layer. This is where the tree starts to come to life. Go into your brush presets and you can choose any brush that you want and any color here. Just whatever you want. And if you see, it should start mapping the colors onto the tree. So you guys kind of see how it starts coming together? This is where the opacity of the dithering layer is important. If you want more dithering, add more dithering. If you want less dithering, set the opacity lower. If you don't want the standard checkerboard dithering, like I said, there's you can go into fill patterns, choose a different fill pattern, whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. But all you do from here is you just kind of start shaping the tree into what you want. So I'm gonna do something like that. Add some shading, maybe some more leaves.
Hey Katie, which brush presets are you under?
I'm under paint right now. You can use this to just play around with the brushes, cause like you could like even do this doesn't have textures. That sucks. Okay. Do like a sketch brush. Just whatever you need to get this tree to like where you want it to. Thanks. So obviously, like whatever you make is gonna need a lot of tweaking, but if you spend like enough time in it, you should like reasonably start to like see a tree, some tree leaves. So if like you're unhappy with the amount of dithering, again, you can just go into the opacity, change it. If you want to change your colors, you click on your index filter layer. You know, you go under your settings. Maybe I do want more ramps. I want more colors. Maybe I want less colors. So you can like do whatever you want to make the tree a reasonable looking tree. And then from there, you guys remember those group layers I made? Make one group layer. You can like click it, then you know, shift click to select multiple layers, drag them all into your group layer. Use your tree. I'm gonna make a second layer, just drag it out of here. How are those trees looking? Tree. Tree made. Not the best, but that sure is a tree. Tree made. It's tree time.
Hey, Katie.
Yeah.
What if you're making a tile and you want to tile it?
You're right. So I always forgot tiles. I'm just gonna if you like create a new thing, you'll see the files just are tabs up there. So you know you can just click tabs. All right. So let's say you're making a tile game. You're in that RPG Maker. This is what you do. It's real simple. Are you guys right? Hopefully the setting is turned on for all of you. Press W. Just press W on your screen. Do it. Press W. Have you all pressed W? Yeah. Just the letter W. Pressed. This is tiling mode. If you want to make tiles, it'll make tiles for you. So, look at that beautiful tile. So let's say you're making the world's greatest wood texture. Now it'll tile perfectly, no matter where you put it. That's the power of pressing W. Tile mode. Combine that with the multi-brush tool. Create some truly spectacular wallpaper.
I love it. Hey, is there another keyboard shortcut for tiling? So I don't think W is doing anything.
I just saw that it was under view just now.
Oh, it's under.
Yeah, okay.
Let's check views.
I forget where. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. If it's not like working, if you go into view, it's wraparound mode, like right up here. You just press that manually. But yeah, wow. Well, consider that.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
The ultimate tree wallpaper.
This is my favorite tile. These are my favorite tiles. Ideal.
Alright. Oh, I didn't get to animation. That's fine. Yeah, but alright, wait, hold on. Since my time is ending soon, I just want to show you guys like 2 more things. I'm not going to go into it in detail. Find like an actual video tutorial for this, like by a real person who uses this all the time. If you click on that top right little button where like the default options are, and you click on animation, Krita has an animation tool for you. You can make your frames here. It has all, you know, the onion skin, all that stuff. But that is there if you want to animate stuff in Krita. It exists. Yeah, standard. And also, for, at the end of this, you may be saying, well, Katie, I'm not going to be making assets anyways. That's fine. There, you may have other things you can do. I think most of you should have, it's under filters. It's like start GMIC QT. If you don't have it, go look it up. It's there. Krita has like help for installing it. let's say you want to make some spicy stuff. It has all your dumb blurs and everything that you need. You got to filter for JPEG artifacts.
What's the bloom blur?
The bloom? It's not really that great. This is the thing you need. This is what I was doing earlier. Look, just in case, it's there if you want to play around with it. It'll, you know, add some effects.
What's OP art?
I don't think that one's, yeah, it's not actually that interesting. I mean, some,
Click Tetris, come on.
oh, okay. Tetris.
Perfect.
If you wanna do your math, it's got plotting tools for you, you know.
What's a quick copy?
Well, so this is an add-on basically. This is not made by Krita, so this is not Krita's fault. That's somebody else's fault. But JPEG.
Does that say Lomo?
Probably. I'm not gonna open it up again. Get Krita, Albert.
Yeah, Albert.
Do it yourself. I made this in 5 minutes with the circle tool.
That in the Discord unedited, like just that image.
I will. I have it saved on my computer. Okay. Oh, also, hey guys, come back. Shh, I'm still here. There's. Do you have MS Paint?
Oh no.
Oh my god.
I mean, everyone I know is paint.
MS Paint. So, dithering patterns. You may not want the standard checkerboard. MS Paint has got your back for once in its life. If you open up a canvas and save, just save as. I don't know where I'm saving this.
Just don't.
I have to.
Go put it on the desktop then.
Okay.
Top left desktop.
Put it right on his desktop, right in his SSD.
All right. Save as a monochrome bitmap, the ultimate file. Just save it. The color, we want that color quality reduced. If you're ready, go to edit colors. Choose a color. This is MS Paint. You should know how to use MS Paint. It makes your dithering patterns for you.
That is actually, I can't see. Yeah, they look very different, bro.
I don't
They
know.
look very different.
Huh? What happened here?
Aliens, it's gotta be known.
Oh no. There you go. It makes dithering patterns for you. Just as a spicy tooltip from a resident pixel artist, MS Paint is also your best friend. Also edit with Paint 3D. I'm kidding.
I forgot that was a thing.
You can make 3D models in Paint. Don't do that. Yeah, actual serious art tips. Just dithering patterns and MS Paint. Quality. Great stuff. Also, one more example of things you may want to do for your maps and stuff. We talked about tiles. Have you guys seen isometric tiles before? Because I've had to do a lot of those. Let me just explain them for a sec. I have actual examples this time. These are isometric tiles. It's isometric, just ignore that. Isometric, and then they have height to them. So if you want to build a relatively cool looking map in a short amount of time, none of these were very hard to make. It's just like lines with me scribbling the pen everywhere. You can do that with a mouse. You can put them together and make some decently like cool looking stuff. So you can just like put it together into a giant map. That's just all the outdoor tiles and like some characters and houses and stuff. That's it. You can use those dithering trees. Maybe change up the color so it fits more within the theme. Put it all together. You have art. Easy. This map took me about 5 minutes to make. The tiles took me much longer, but I'm just saying, it's that hard input work. It pays off. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna get to. Does anybody have any questions?
Of trees.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. I should save that tree.
That should be in your Discord icon.
What?
Every year you just update your Discord icon with the trees.
Yeah. Does anybody have any like questions, comments? Anybody like want to know anything more about Krita? This was a pretty short lesson, so you can also just talk to me. I can show you more stupid stuff you can do with filters. Anybody want to talk about MATLAB? The license servers are back up. Back in business.
Thanks, Kate.
I can't afford that. Jake.
Yes.
I need you to export my tree. I don't know how to navigate your garbage. Yeah.
Okay. She wants it.
Yeah, I need it in the Discord. I need that. That's my icon now.
I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Give me 1 sec. Let me stop the recording first.
There. You can also